Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bubbles with Bethany. We have two special guests today. I'm so glad you're all here. We have Ernie off to the side there, who's how old?
He's right about 95 million.
95 million years old. And
Yeah.
of course, then we have the king of real estate, AJ Osborne, which I'm so excited. One of my favorite humans is here with us today, and we're going to talk about all kinds of fun stuff. We're going to, of course, talk about wealth consciousness as we always do, but there's some exciting things. If you stick around till the end, there's going to be a giveaway as usual. AJ has got a live deal that he'll tell you all about today, which is also exciting. And I don't know what else comes up. And you guys are going to get a chance to chime in and talk to us today. You can ask AJ questions about his beard, about Ernie, about his deal, about his book, anything you want. We're gonna, oh, we've got these note takers here. Anything you want. It's just going to be the same old conversation, except for a new twist because we have AJ today. So, AJ, welcome to Bubbles with Bethany. Thank you so much. Cheers to you. Tell me you have a monster. You have a monster. Cheers.
I do.
Okay, good. Wow. All right. So we're also going to we want you guys to engage a little bit as well. So be thinking about a big win that you've had over the last week since we saw you last week. Because if no one raises their hand, I'm going to start calling people out, even though Renee's eating and some people are off camera. Some people are off camera. I'm going to call people out. So be thinking about a big win you had as well. But as always, I get to go first because it's my show. AJ, I know what a lot of your superpowers are, and I think probably a lot of people that will watch this or are here with us today know what your superpowers are. But I always like to ask people from their own perspective what you like people to see as your unique superpower. What is it you say is AJ's unique superpower?
It's interesting because when you asked me that question, I was like, well, I could maybe say one of the ones that people think about, but I think probably the more important one for me in my work stuff is I'm very good at seeing how things work together. So seeing opportunities and seeing things that most people miss.
That's a big one, which I'm sure helps in the companies that you run. And I do want to talk a little bit about that because you are more than a regular syndicator who invests in self-storage. You have a whole fully integrated ground up self-storage business, yeah?
Yes, yeah, we do. I've done, and it's been interesting because I do my core business of self-storage, which we own, operate, manage, develop, but we have all the components and pieces, including the technology, like our tech stack, everything else like that, we own and we built. But I've done, I was talking to another guy, franchises, done chains of gyms, service-based businesses. I own product companies in like the hunting industry. I own like all of these different types of companies, and I've started a lot of different companies. I think right now I own, operate, manage eight, nine.
Not, oh yeah, okay. So and I assume, or I would guess that those all came together by virtue of the fact that your unique superpower is seeing how things all work together, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So you've practiced on some of these other businesses. They're not all integrated, right? You mean I don't maybe they
No.
are. You tell me that how they work together that I don't see. It's not
Yeah.
my
No. No. They're not all integrated. The integration part is an interesting part. I think my superpower of seeing how things work together comes from probably what was always my greatest weakness, and that was the fact that I'm very uh, ADD, dyslexic. My brain just works differently. That was a struggle early on. But when I need to know something or understand, I have to know everything about it. I can't, right? My hyper focus is very intense. And so on subjects that I'm interested in, I don't understand the thing. Like other people are just smart; they just understand things. I have to know like everything about it. Well, in business, that then works very well to the integration part, because where other people just accepted parts of the business, well, we farm that out, or that just is what it is. I can't understand things that way. So I'm like, no, 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 no. Why? How? How does this business operate? What's going on? What is the proposition value? And through that, I understand very in depth what I'm doing, but it also makes it very easy for me then to build on, add other parts because I can see the value that it brings or doesn't bring into our overall ecosystem, and then how it plays into it, the functionality of it, and what a lot of people miss. So that's particularly true when it comes to technology. And we've been very good and have a really big competitive advantage through our utilization of data and technology within our industry that I started looking at back in a time when storage hadn't even really gone digital. So there was a time when I was trying to collect data to do technology, and most storage facilities didn't even have websites. So they hadn't even moved on to like the digital era, right? And so I build things very far in advance. Our tech stack, for example, we started a decade ago, and it's just now coming full circle to connect everything and get to where we need to go. So I can see very far in the future, like I can see how, if I'm building this out today, how it will play in and what we need. It can just take obviously time, as those things do, but it seems very obvious to me, and that's very, very helpful in my line of business.
I think that's amazing because I mean, at first you started off saying how you've turned a weakness into a strength. And the reality is, it sounds like that actually is a strength. And I love that you were able to harness that because it is a power, right? I mean, the ability to hyper focus, not everybody has. So you could look at it one way of like, you said your brain works differently. Okay, ADD, ADHD, all those things. And I think if you can learn how to harness that, that's so cool that hyper focus. I mean, a lot of people could stand to have a little bit more of that.
Yeah,
Right?
I was very lucky. My parents were incredible. Not a lot of people have very supportive parents, and I mean, a lot of people have supportive parents, but there's a lot of people that struggle, and their parents don't know how to support them in their struggles. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And my parents were confused because people were very confused because my flavor of ADHD or whatever what you want to call it, they didn't really understand. I wasn't hyperactive per se like normal people were. So it was literally just my brain worked kind of differently and they tagged ADHD on it. But it meant I struggled in school, yet I was extraordinarily talented and smart at some things. So I had a very high IQ, but I was failing out. And as a parent, that's really hard to have a kid that the system's saying is dumb. You don't believe that, and you have this counter thing and not know what to do. So I feel for my parents, but they were very, very supportive. And my mom was always like, no matter what, you're not only not dumb, you're very, very smart. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have ever thought that because you don't think that when you fail. So
Right. Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, if everybody could have parents like that, imagine how much more productive people would be in the world, right? Just
yeah.
harness whatever your talent is, right? Because you're right. I mean, people are smart in different ways,
hmm
and
Yes, and that's exactly what it's told. Just because you struggle at taking tests, because for me, because my brain worked differently, like you had multiple choice answers, but to me, I could actually figure out how every single one of the answers, A, B, C, and D, would all work given the information that didn't exist. And so I would ask, yeah, but what about this? What about that? And they're like, dude, that's not the question. Answer
right,
one of them. And I'm like, what? But, and so like I couldn't get it. I literally couldn't understand it. Because I have to understand everything or I don't get anything. It was so oversimplified to me that it didn't make sense. And so that's a struggle. And it was a big struggle. I actually left school when I was a freshman. I dropped out and took college equivalencies and I got into any college that I wanted. And I left and went to college at 15, 16. And so my mom was like, you're too smart. Let's just go to college. That's not what the teachers were saying. They weren't saying you're too smart. So, but she was right. They took me to test, and then I went to college and did phenomenal. But
in addition to your parents being very supportive and your parents supporting you moving on out of high school into college and into things that work for you, your wife built something awesome, and I promise I could do a whole show just on your beautiful wife. I love her so much.
It would be
And
way better than mine.
you can go, no, no, no. And everybody should go. In fact, if
Yeah.
Jade, if you could find the YouTube video that she has an interview with Pace that it was a whole hour,
Yes.
right? You guys should, we're gonna drop the link. You guys should definitely go check that out after
It's
this.
amazing.
You're gonna want to go see all about the school that Tessa created, and it's amazing for just this reason, right?
Yes.
I mean, among
That's
other
right.
things, but
Yeah.
because kids are getting kind of lost in the system that could just be producing so much to society, and it focuses on the way people learn versus fitting into some box to get federal funding. I said I wasn't gonna get controversial, and I won't, but
That's right. You're exactly right. She's, it's funny because she didn't graduate in education, anything else, but we obviously, due to my experience, we had some very strong opinions on school. I did, particularly because, when I left school, frankly, school had done a lot more damage than it had done good for me. I had very low self-esteem. I did not think I was not only not smart, I thought I was fairly stupid. And it was just at that time in the 90s. So the school system, we felt, was supposed to be there to help the individual, but the system of the schools are not set up to help individuals. That's not how it works. Systemically, it's not. It's not how resources are allocated. It's not how it does not function like that, which it can't. It would have to totally change in order to do that. But my wife didn't like this, and she was struggling, obviously, with our kids. We have 4 children, so she was like, what good? And we had something big happen in my life, which we can talk about in a minute, and it changed the way that we viewed things. And she's like, you know what? We're not going to complain. I'm not going to complain about things. We're not going to say we don't like things. She said, we're just going to solve it. So she went and started a school, K through high, all the way through, and she built a school that was focused on trying to center it around the individual, which meant smaller classroom sizes, which meant accelerated programs. So kids that were accelerated could accelerate, and kids that weren't would get the help they needed to go. So each kid is judged at a different level, and the class is not taught at the same level. Each kid's getting different homework and tests predicated at the level they're at. And so you're not holding the smart kids back, and you're not helping the kids. And by smart kids, I mean in individual subjects, because the grading system doesn't make sense. Let's say you get a perfect score in 2 classes, but then in 3 you fail. Now your grade's a D. But you were perfect in 2 subjects. That doesn't make sense. And so it's this idea that we're not all perfect at everything, but that doesn't mean we suck at everything. And each person is different in each subject. So they need to be able to accelerate in their path, in their lane, and get help where they're not. And so she built a school out of that, 50 employees, 600 plus students, and it's amazing.
I can attest, you guys, I went to visit the school and it was amazing. It was so fun. I was like, I want to move so that my daughter can finish high school here.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It is very, very cool. So the link is in the chat there. So make sure you save that and go to that after, of course, after Bubbles. You'll want to go check that out. It's awesome. Plus, it's always just fun to see the animated Pace Morby too.
Yes.
Okay, so I heard you allude to the big life event, and it's so impressive the timing of this school. And I suspect that that big life event, first of all, and everybody on here, if you haven't already heard this, it may be in the book, I don't know. I'm happy to have you talk about it if you want to. If you don't, that's
Yeah.
okay too. But I
Have to.
suspect that it has something to do with what your definition of wealth consciousness is, which I always want to know what people's definition of that is, because it's one of my goals to help people create that in their life. Well, as I started to try to build a community to help people create that, I realized everyone has a different definition of what that means for them. So what is it? What does it mean? And so I ask everybody, what does it mean to you? So what does wealth consciousness mean to you?
Progress.
Yeah.
So it means that you have the ability to progress in what you want. A lot of times that we view that monetary amounts hold us back from our own progression. It means we have to do certain things that we either don't want to do, we don't like to do, we're not good at it, and we can't become or do the things that we want to do, which actually caps out society overall as we're not maxing it out. So I don't ever think, and I haven't ever thought that wealth means that I'm sitting on a beach in Hawaii, not doing anything. That's retirement, that I don't have to work. It's not that you don't have to work, it's that you get to do other things. So you get to do more, not less. And that's how I viewed wealth. And the reason I did that is because all the wealthy people that I know do more. The wealthiest people that I know do 100 times more than the average person. And they did more the more wealth they got. So it was actually inverse of what I thought it actually looked like. Like normal people thought it meant like, oh, I do whatever I want, sit at my pool, and I have all these toys and everything. And then all the wealthy people that I knew, they did so much more. They were doing all sorts of things. And it was really about them being able to do and become who they wanted to be and make change and effect. And when they had the ability to focus on those things they were passionate about, and they got really into it, and they made really good change, and they made lots of it. And that was very interesting, that wealth was a personal expansion, not a contraction. It doesn't work like that. So as we expand, wealth expands, right? So if you have the goal or the mindset that I'm going to become wealthy, and why? Well, I want to travel the world in a yacht, right? You're never going to be wealthy, because your goal and your reason is to do less, not to do more. And so what actually happens, it's like you're fighting against yourself. It doesn't make sense. In order to obtain wealth, you have to do more than you receive, right? That's entrepreneurship investing. You're doing or giving up something today for tomorrow. So you work 10x today, and you're only getting paid a fraction of that. The wealthiest people, when they start, they work way harder than anything they get paid, vastly harder, right? It's so disproportionate, it's ridiculous, right? I have companies that I've been working on literally for 6 years, and I have not been paid on them. In fact, I've only paid into them, and I've worked on them endlessly. Some of those investments, though, are going to pay me off in ways that are unimaginable to most people. And so there is this whole process of wealth creation and wealth getting that it is actually the fundamental process of progress. And I really believe that, because I see it, and it's how the functionality works. It's how we've actually structured the system to work, as you are rewarded higher based upon ownership than work. The reason being is that means you have to allocate things that are serving someone else besides yourself, plus you also have to allocate things that are future gains. Now, this is a very simple but true principle, and people that do it, they are paid handsomely. But a lot of people view time as money, and so they get fooled and they say, I'm not going to do that if I'm not getting paid. The moment I hear that is the moment I'm like, you are not going anywhere. Because doing what you're not getting paid for is literally how you get wealth. Because what you're not paid for today should be allocated tomorrow. Wealthy people, they foster relationships that provide opportunities. They don't even know if the opportunity is going to come, but it could. I'm going to foster relationships. I'm going to network. I'm not getting paid for that. I'm not doing it. It's a waste of time, right? I'm building for equity, not for money. The companies that I built, I worked for free, and I used all the money to pay employees. Instead of paying myself, I'd hire other people that were better, that smarter than me. And what I was doing is, instead of paying myself, I was leveraging time, I was leveraging knowledge, skill set, and that was a much better use of the money than giving it to me. So I lived on a fraction of my income, and I worked multiple jobs my entire life. I've never not. And today I have lots of different companies. I manage and running them all, and I'm leveraging other people to do it. I obviously couldn't do it on my own, but that's the point, right? It's all about leverage. It's all about future investment. And wealthy people understand that. And that's how it works. So progress is the thing. It's not today, it's in the future. I want to become better all around. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better father. I want to be better spiritually. I want to be better physically. I want to be better. I want to be engaged in the process, right? So when people say when's enough, I don't look at it like that. It's not like I have this monetary necessarily set goal kind of thing I'm doing. Like I hope that next year I'm a better person than I am this year. And so I track those things. I want to achieve those things. And that's how I work towards those things. And so that's what wealth means to me. It's progress.
I love that. That's a great summation too. And you're right. I think not only the wealthiest, but the happiest people I know are contributing something to their community in some form or fashion. So they are doing more.
Yes.
Because while it might seem sexy to sit on a boat or by a pool and do nothing, I don't know anybody who's gotten to some level of success that would ever not be bored out of their freaking minds doing that.
Yeah. Nope.
And also just unsatisfied with
Yeah.
the output. And I think you hit it. I mean, using and leveraging other people, doing the thing that they love that's not the thing that you love is the only way, I think, to succeed. I wrote a whole freaking book on it. But I will say, I think that the coolest part of that is, first of all, you've done that. And I even think that having your brain work differently than other people was almost a cheat code to do that, because you're like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I can't do that. So I'm gonna, that's, if a lot of people could just get to the point of knowing they could and should get those other people to do it, I think they would see success sooner, actually.